Amen. Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. Excuse me. First and foremost, I'd like to start this lesson by giving all praises, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha, Kodash. Next is double honors to elders and apostles of Great Millstone, our bishops of Great Millstone who rule well and taught us this 100% truth. Salutations unto the 144,000. Doing the work of the Lord in all truth, honor, and sincerity, and shalom to the 1/3 men, women, and children who believe in His word being taught unto them. It's your brother, I'm Nawa Allah, back at you with another video entitled Uproars in multiple places, man. And listen, man, no man, not even Yahweh Shai, know of the exact time, date, hour in which, the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, is going to send forth His Son. However, He's given us signs to observe and to look out for, to be able to measure the times diligently and kind of gauge a rough idea of how long we've got left in this kingdom. And by the way events are going, we really don't have much time here, man. It's only 11 days into 2026, and so much has happened, so much is happening. So hey man, without further ado, let's get into it, man. All right. So this is Iran's army pledges to defend national interests as protests continue. Now, there was a picture I found the other day, and I can't seem to find it now. But what it was a picture of all the places where the protests in Iran are happening, and it pretty much covered the whole land, the whole country of Iran. All right, so the world's gone absolutely crazy. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of civil unrest. People ain't happy, and people are starting to take matters into their own hands, which is actually biblical prophecy, which we'll get into. Salaki, I'm just on my other phone now. I'm really trying to see if I can find this photo of all the different all the different parts of Iran in which the protests are taking place. If I can't find it, it is what it is. But from what I remember, it pretty much covered the whole land mass of Iran. Okay? That's just one of many problems, many situations that we're facing in the world at the moment. All right? So let's read this because I can't seem to find it. Salakia. It says rights groups condemn internet blackout amid reports of mass arrests at anti-government protests across Iran. All right, it says anti-government protests. So you've actually got people protesting against their government, man. People are taking matters into their own hands, which is prophecy. We'll grab that in a minute. This was published yesterday, 10th of January. It says the Iranian army says it will defend the country's national interests as anti-government protests continue to escalate amid widespread arrests and an internet blackout. In a statement published by semi-official news sites on Saturday, the military accused Israel and hostile terrorist groups of seeking to undermine the country's public security. The army, under the command of the Supreme Commander-in-Chief, together with armed forces, in addition to monitoring enemy movements in the region, will resolutely protect and safeguard national interests, the country's strategic infrastructure, and public property, it said. The warning came as Tehran has stepped up efforts to quell the country's largest protest in years, which have seen thousands of people take to the streets in anger over the soaring cost of living and inflation. Now, you see, people can only take so much inflation, man. I mean, prices are steady rising. However, we haven't even entered the realm of hyperinflation yet. And this is how the people are reacting. I'm not saying there's anything wrong or they're not justified. I'm just saying we haven't even reached the dregs of it. And people are going crazy. But they ain't seen nothing, man. Let's quickly hold 1 second. Just bear with me. This is 2nd Ezra's 14. And let's start at 14. It says, let go from the mortal thoughts. Cast away the burdens of man. Put off now the weak nature. And set aside the thoughts that are most heavy unto thee. And haste thee to flee from these times. For yet greater evils than those which thou hast seen happen shall be done hereafter. You see? So people ain't seen nothing yet. Because there's going to be greater evils, which the Hebrew word for evil is rai. So evils, making it plural, will be rayam. So there's going to be, which means bad times, by the way. So even worse times are ahead of us. We are only 11 days into 2026. All right? Verse 17 tells us, for look how much the world shall be weaker through age. So much the more shall evils increase upon them that dwell therein. All right, so the evils are only going to steadily increase, not subside, but increase until we enter into our kingdom, the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of Yahushai, which will be established down here on earth. Expect evils to increase. All right, so it says, crowds gathered again on Saturday in the north of the Iranian capital, Tehran, setting off fireworks and banging pots as they shouted slogans in support of the country's ousted monarchy, according to video verified by the AFP news agency. Other videos that could not be immediately verified also showed rallies in the city of Rasht in the north, Tabriz in the northwest, and Shiraz and Kerman in the south. Fair use, fair use, fair use. Let's have a look at this video. Let's see what it says. Let's see what's going on here. What a way to spend your Friday, eh? Can't tell me the biblical prophecy is not taking place, man. All right, it says demonstrations have taken place across Iran since late December, with growing calls for the end of the clerical system that has governed the country since the 1979 Islamic Revolution. Human rights groups have urged restraint amid reports of protest-related casualties and mass arrests, with Norway-based non-government organizations Iran Human Rights saying at least 51 protesters, including 9 children, have been killed. Anyways, let me get into that. Have been killed by security forces, and hundreds more have been injured. All right, so I mean, you get the picture of what's going on here. All right. These are the times that we're in, okay? Which is biblical prophecy. It tells us here in 2 Ezra 9, let's start at the top. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past which I have told thee before, then thou shalt understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. So it was prophesied that this is exactly what was going to take place in the world, nearing the end of Esau's society, his kingdom. And we just happen to be in those times now, okay? It says in verse 5, did I read 4? I think I did. I'll read it again anyway. Thou shalt well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning, as it says in Isaiah 46, declaring the end from the beginning. All right? This ain't, this doesn't come as a surprise to us, because we, as believers of the scriptures, believers in Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, we anticipate for these things to happen, because we have the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the scriptures to understand that this is just how it's meant to play out. So it says, verse 5 says, excuse me, for like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest, even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings in wonder and powerful works, and endings in effects and signs. Okay? And we are seeing those effects and signs now. Now, this is important. Verse 7, and everyone that shall be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith whereby ye believed, shall be preserved from the said perils, and shall see my salvation in my land and within my borders, for I have sanctified them for me from the beginning. So this is talking about the elect. When you read 2 Ezra 2, I believe around the 27th verse on down, it shows you how, it basically talks about how the elect will be protected in these times to come. Isaiah 33 and 6 tells us how wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, man. And strength of salvation, the fear of the Lord is his treasure. You see? So now is, not a time to be trying to, falling out the truth, getting weak, and things of that nature, man, because things are happening. And this is just one country. This is just Iran. All right? In France, you've got a farmers' protest going on. Okay? And you've actually, this protest has actually sent the French president, the prime minister, and his wife or his husband. I don't know if which way he swings. I don't know if it's a typo, but if you go on Redacted, you can see the video. They're in hiding due to this protest. You see? Tractor protest in city centre comes as Emmanuel Macron confirms he will vote against Accord on Friday. So these French farmers and tractors have blocked roads around Eiffel Tower and Arc de Triomphe in protest at an imminent EU trade deal with South American countries that they say will create unfair competition. The farmers blockaded motorways outside Paris on Thursday, and dozens of tractors overran police checkpoints to reach the city centre in pre-dawn protest organised by the Coordination Rural Union. EU states are due to vote on Friday on the deal with Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay and Paraguay, the four members of the South American trade bloc known as Mercosur. If ratified, it would create a common market of nearly 800 million people boosting EU exports of vehicles, machinery, wines, and spirits. Many European farmers fear being undercut by an influx of cheaper agricultural products from Mercosur common market. Belgian farmers have also protested, rolling more than 1,000 tractors into Brussels last month. So you see, what we see happening is people are taking matters into their own hands. They're no longer just following blindly what the government has to say. You know, if they have a problem, people are gonna make it known. All right, and people are willing to take matters into their own hands if they feel it's necessary. You see, so I mean, hey man, this is it's a serious time that we're in. All right, I'm just checking something out on here. Give me a second, Salakia. All right. Um, we have been, we are between resentment and despair. We have a feeling of abandonment, with Mercosur being an example. Hey, look, long story short, man. Look, you got uproars of the people here as well, and it's actually sent the French Prime Minister into hiding in some in some bunker deep underground to escape this. So, I mean, the Bible is just playing out, man. Like, the prophecies are screaming, man. Let's get 2 Ezra 15. And let me start 14. It says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands." You know, so you got the protests going on, and you know they're only gonna escalate. And you already heard that there was quite a number of deaths in the Iranian protests. Okay. 16, the point, "For there shall be sedition among men, invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power." So people are taking matters into their own hands. They don't care what government has to say. You know, they ain't happy. So people are doing what they feel is necessary. All right. This is beautiful, because this just spells the end of Esau's kingdom. Now, of course, we know what happened in Venezuela with Trump capturing the Maduro and his wife, which is I believe he was a president. I'm not sure. Yeah, I believe they have a president in Venezuela. All right. Now, you know, the original notion was, you know, to reduce crime and, you know, aid with the drugs coming into America and the cartels and yada, yada, yada. That's just all a front, man. They've got a lot of oil reserves in Venezuela, and these devils want to get their hands on them. All right. So, Big Oil knows, this is another article, Big Oil knows that Trump's Venezuela plans are delusional. The president's thinking is stuck in the 1980s. So about all that Venezuelan oil, although President Trump has declared that America's oil companies will soon go into Venezuela and spend billions of dollars to rebuild the country's petroleum industry, the administration is making two huge assumptions. First, that unleashing Venezuelan oil would yield lower energy prices for American consumers and giant profits for American companies. Second, that unlike previous administrations, which got bogged down for decades in failed nation building in Iraq and Afghanistan, Trump can simply let great American companies do what they do best: drill, baby, drill. but my conversations with several oil industry veterans and energy analysts indicate that the administration has the situation precisely backwards. Restoring Venezuela's oil industry is completely unrealistic in the short term and might not be in America's economic and geopolitical interests at all. Trump seems locked in the world of the 1980s and 90s when the US imported most of its oil from a handful of foreign sources. Arnab Datta, a lawyer who specializes in energy markets, told me, but today, America is the world's biggest oil producer. The play for Venezuelan oil doesn't make a whole lot of sense for the new world we're in. Yeah, bro, it's more than that. Okay, and unfortunately, I can't read any more of this, but it's okay. It kind of gives us a rough idea. All right, but I found this here in the People's Voice, which I was really meant to go into the other day, but I mean, it's perfect now because we've got all these other articles to add to the edification. It says Rothschilds and Co. hired to manage Venezuela's economic recovery under US-backed regime. The Venezuelan government has quietly contracted Rothschild and Co., the global investment powerhouse, long accused of pulling strings behind sovereign debt crisis, true, to map out the nation's external debt obligations amid a full economic breakdown. According to insiders, Rothschild's job is not simply bookkeeping. They're building the blueprint for total financial restructuring under globalist control, a typical precursor to sovereign economic takeover. So, I mean, if you're in the spirit, you know exactly what this spells out. NW what? Sorry, excuse me, what? Venezuela owes hundreds of billions of dollars. And this is how, these elite banking families own the whole world. Is because we live in a debt-based society. And what happens is the borrower then becomes subject to the lender, which is exactly what we see playing out now. The borrower, which is way more than just Venezuela, but the borrowers, which will be these countries, are now subject to the lender, which will be these 13 elite banking families, spearheaded mainly by the Rothschilds. Okay? This is how they are able to control the world in a manner in which they do. Because every country's in debt. You've got the US national debt clock. The moment you're born, you're in debt. You don't even know it. All right? It says Venezuela owes hundreds of billions of dollars to foreign bondholders and state creditors, a mountain of liabilities that have crippled Caracas for years. This includes sovereign bonds and PDVSA oil debt that have been in default for over 6 years. Rothschild involvement, a bank historically tied to rearranging debt for nations on the brink, you see, is a classic Trojan horse. First financial control, then political control. You see it there? Just as Rothschild was digging into Venezuela's books, a US military operation on the 3rd of Jan 26 stunned the world. President Nicolas Maduro and First Lady Celia Flores were captured by US forces and flown to New York to face federal charges. Look at the timing of that. I know Rothschild just come to save the day, right? Oh yeah, like this wasn't planned. In a declaration that reads, look at that, Nat Rothschild. Well done, Donald J. Trump. In a declaration that reads more like an empire's boast than a diplomatic statement, former US President Donald Trump, really he's the current president as well, so I don't know what they're talking about, proclaimed that the United States would run Venezuela, at least temporarily, as it installs a transition while overseeing oil and political restructuring. This just sounds like Fourth Industrial Revolution. This means the US is not just advising Venezuela's finances through Rothschild, it's now controlling the nation's energy lifeline, the ultimate economic lever. Beautiful. Let's go here. 2 Corinthians 2:11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. We know exactly what he's doing, what these devils are doing. Because these devils, they really come out the same playbook. You know, their thing is just rinse and repeat. They, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They just do the same thing over and over and over again and expect people not to catch on to the pattern of events. You see? But we're not ignorant of Satan's devices. And we had an indoor camp yesterday. And as the beloved captain said multiple times, we don't forget anything, man. We keep the receipts. See, the reason why majority of the world hasn't tapped into the repetitiveness of Esau, Edom's strategies is because they forget, man. But we don't forget things, man. We keep the receipts. We know how this devil gets down, and we're able to identify patterns. You see? This is why they can't pull the wool over our eyes, man. All right? But I mean, it's just within this devil's nature to, let me be PC about it, to colonize places. Okay? That's just how this devil does. But really, they're fugitives and vagabonds. Right? Habakkuk 2:4 tells us, behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. The just are the Israelites, beginning with the elect. Really, this is focusing on the elect, because the elect are the ones that are living by faith. All right? Verse 5 tells us, yet also, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe, which means destruction, to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. And that word clay is ibatyat, meaning debt. As I mentioned previously, the US national debt clock, the number is so high and it steadily increases. Okay? So they've laden themselves with a lot of debt. Okay? And now we're living in a time where the beasts are beginning to hate the whore. This NATO and EU alliance, which more or less comprises of 30 countries, give or take, they're now starting to hate the whore. Because they don't like the way, they don't like the way they go about themselves. Revelation 17 and 16. Let's start at 15. It says, and he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are people, multitudes, and nations, and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. The whore represents America. Okay? That's why in the 15th verse, where it says, where the whore sitteth, are peoples, multitudes, and nations, and tongues. All right? Because the US is the unofficial leading country of the NATO and the EU alliance. Okay? Which comprises of, give or take, 30 odd countries. All right? More or less. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, which is now more or less around 30, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. You see? That's why these other countries now have nuclear capability. Let the weak say, I am strong. For the Most High have put in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled. You see? So they're allowing the US to spearhead the NATO and the EU until the words of the Most High be fulfilled. And then they're going to eventually burn her with fire. Which is the, if the priest's daughter was a whore, she'd be burnt with fire. America is that whore that sitteth upon, the multiple peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. And guess what? Their judgment is they're going to is that the land of America is going to be burned with fire. Okay. 18, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city, America, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. And these people are motherfucking tired of the American way of living, the American way of life, and their bullshit, man. So this is beautiful, man. Prophecy is playing out like just perfectly. The vision is yet for an appointed time. Matthew 24:6 tells us, and ye shall hear of wars and rumours of wars. See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrow. So this is just the beginning, people. All right? There's many more things that are yet to come. We just got to let it play out. Okay? So yeah, man, just, keep the faith, man. Stay in the scriptures. Stay diligent, stay prayed up. We soon out of here, man. All right? So I pray, Lord willing, this lesson's been edifying. Until the next time I say shalom. Stay up, stay strong.